They want to live this life on purpose, go find some purpose.
And welcome to Purpose Talks. Oh my God, I cannot believe I am on episode 8. This is crazy. You always got to believe in your dreams anyway, and they will come through. As you all know, I always have a special guest, and this guest is very, very special. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. We have none of the other than
Miss Maria Babes.
Hey, Miss Maria Babes, and we are going to be tearing it up with some questions. We're going to go talking about men, children, boys, girls, power, empowerment, love, affection, and all the rest of the things that come with it. So my first question is, do you think men are scared or fearful of powerful women?
Yes, so I think there's been a lot of demonstration on social media, a lot of male podcasts where I believe they are demonstrating fear of women. And I think it's more centered around fear of women's independence and women not needing to be as dependent as they used to be. So, you know, there's a lot of talk about the traditional woman and the modern woman. We are in modern times. We're not living in 1920. So I think the issue is men are having issues with adapting to the new times that we are living in, because a lot of these modern men are expecting traditional women, but they want to be modern men, and that in itself doesn't align. So that's what I'm seeing a lot.
Now, I'm in 100% agreement, and it's so funny about that. Like, they talk about you're too modern, and I'm like, not necessarily personally to me, but saying that word, it's easy to say, but not easy to explain what you call too modern, what you call too independent. And I do think it stems from mindsets and the way men have been grown up, who that was in their household. Did you come from a single household? Did you come from mother and father? How did your father treat your mother? How did your mother treat your father? And this is where they get it twisted of what independence means, because being an independent woman doesn't mean that you're not dependent on a man. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I'm independent as an individual. And then you're independent as an individual, and then we depend on each other's individuality to become independent. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be a competition. It should be, it's okay for me to be walking in my power. It's okay for you to walk in your power. But men are scared because I feel they don't know what their power is. And modern men don't walk in power. They actually walk behind. They're more followers. Like, their brethren are doing it, they're doing it. But for them to stand out from the crowd, for them to look different, to them to like different music, for them to eat out of their culture or do something just completely out of the box, it's like they're scared to do it. So when they see a woman that's acting completely different to their mum and their grandmas and their auntie, it breeds a fear inside them. That's my personal belief. As you all know, let me just quickly make this disclaimer. This is our personal opinions. It doesn't mean that every woman thinks like this. It doesn't mean every man is like this. This is just what we're seeing in our environment. We're both from South, so this is what we're seeing in South London. I'm not saying it's not happening anywhere else, but the men that we speak to and the people that we're around, these are the patterns and the traits that we're seeing.
Yes, the patterns.
And I think so also, like, looking in our community, as a black community, I think it's evident of what's happening sometimes as well. And people shy away from it. Now, sometimes women become more powerful or empowered because they have no choice. Some women want that soft life, but they don't have a choice. They have to look after their children. They have to find a job. They have to pay the bills. They have to pay the rent. They have to go to school meetings, parents' meetings. They have to have the conversations, uncomfortable conversations sometimes with their boy children, with their girl children, and there's no one else to go to. So all they've got is their self. So their self become their strength, and they've got no time not to be powerful because that's what their children see. Often enough, I would speak to boys and they will be saying, who grew up in a single household, and talk about, my mum, she's my role model. My mum, she was so strong. But yet still, when you meet that strong woman on the road, you're like, whoa, you're too much. Yeah, it's like, so where's the balance?
I think it's what they've seen. And I think to a certain point, they also resent it as well. Yeah. Because, you know, I have a dad present. I've grown up with my dad, so I'm not from a single parent household. But I think when you are you do become resentful of the parent that stayed, because the other parent is not really interested in your trauma, clearly, because they're not there.
Exactly.
So you have no choice but to be a bit resentful towards your experience. And maybe when you compare yourself to your friends that have two parents, you know, you're not proud of your situation. And I think sometimes men who come from these backgrounds, they are used to seeing a woman doing everything. So maybe they may not make the best partners until they actually work on themselves. So if you have never seen a woman being taken care of, you know, having a man around her to take off some of the load, you may be used to a, you know, hyperactive, overly independent woman. And that might create problems if you come across a woman who expects you to do certain things as a man, who is used to a dynamic of seeing a man be a provider, and you're a single man who is used to seeing your mum struggle. So are you then going to meet every woman and expect them to take on certain struggles that you've seen your mum to take on? So, that's my perspective on, say, dating men who come from single parent households, and how the dynamic can probably be a bit difficult in terms of them not knowing what a provider man looks like.
Yeah, and I think that's key. What does a provider man look like next to a powerful woman who knows who she is and knows her purpose in life? I think, like, for myself, I think growing up, I didn't grow up with the mum and dad. So I always grew up knowing I had to be strong. There was no time in the environment that I grew up with to be weak. There was no time to cry. There was no time to shy away. It was happening in your face. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Like, a lot of people know I grew up in the care system. So it's almost like, am I sleeping here tonight? Where am I going next week? What foster parent am I going to go? What children's home am I going to be in? So I've always had that independence inside me, because I'm like, I only can depend on myself. Mm-hmm. So I think it can be a good thing and a bad thing if you don't get the balance. So I always look at myself as an independent woman, always. Mm-hmm. But I know I still am dependable, and I need someone to depend on. Yeah. But you're not going to take away that I know who I am. And I think a lot of women, you will see them, or you're shocked when even mental health's in place. And a lot of guys have really crushed them. And we have to be real out here. A lot of black guys are not supporting your black sisters and your black queens. And instead of saying something positive about them, you've always got something negative, something to always bring them down. And it's like, just because I've got a voice doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means I'm a powerful person.
Yeah, I think with social media, that's very evident in our community. There seems to be like a gender war and a gender war and a relationship war going on in the community. And I think what I see a lot is a lot of black women, you know, are race loyal, they're down, they're ready, and the men are just playing around.
Yeah, literally,
just playing around. And
literally.
it's just a mess. So I think, you know, honest conversations need to be had. The community needs to be looked at, and we need to assess what we're doing, because it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
I 100% agree. And it is like, yeah, hey queen, how sis, this, that, we're ready, we're in alignment of who we're called to be. But yeah, men, where are you? It's like, we're here, and they're like down here. Like, come on, you need to catch up to what we're doing. And it's okay to have uncomfortable conversation with someone, because I also believe if you're a powerful woman, if you're a woman of purpose and understanding your calling, you can uplift your partner. But these partners don't even want uplifting anymore. They just feel like, I'm a man, what I say goes. And I'm like, no, what world are you living in? It's about having a conversation and saying, these are the plans, this is what I want to do, how can I help you build and build together? And a lot of times, this is why when you see, like, going back to your social media thing, I don't know if the next generation of women are going to be empowered. I'm actually kind of fearful for them.
I think with certain apps, you know, TikTok, YouTube, there's a lot of content creators, there's a lot of information out there. So if you want particular information and you're open to it, you're going to find it. So I've seen young creators who, you know, they see the game that's going on. I saw one recently, I can't remember her name, but she was on TikTok. She's about 21, and she's talking about older men approaching her, and she knows the reasons why an older man who's significantly older than her would be attracted to her other than her youth. It's because they think you're naive, they think you're more moldable, they think you don't have experience. So I was very glad to see a young woman who's, you know, developing, know all of those things. People who are typically older, who are dating very much younger, they are typically looking to take away your youth. They're looking to control you. They do think you're naive, because if they did want someone mature with life experience, then they would go for someone near their age. They don't need to go to someone 15, 16 years younger than them to get someone who's on the same maturity level. That's not happening. So I think people are becoming aware. There's a ton of information out there. So yeah, I think they'll be okay.
I hope so.
Both
really
women
do.
and men. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like you said, if they use the resources correctly, but I think some people, like you said, there's men out there, and not bashing you men, but let's keep it real, you are trying to mold the young people and young ladies, and they are looking at slightly older. However, most young girls that I know that look older, when I ask them their age, they're quite truthful. Or you can blatantly see they're in uniform. And even if someone's got on makeup, I wear makeup, there's nothing wrong with makeup, you can kind of guess roughly their age group, what category they're in. Yeah. If you're big 60 and she looks like she's in her 20s, she could be your daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just keep it real. She doesn't look 60. She doesn't look 50.
She don't look 40.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
So just stop. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what you're doing. And then when she starts telling you about the traumas that she's going on at home, instead of sending her back home, you're going on like you're a counsellor, but you're luring her into a world that she's not ready for. And I think that's really, really dangerous. I think because when she does come out of that broken relationship, because it won't last, it's unlikely to last, she's got so much mending to do. Do you know what I mean? And that's unfair on her. Even if you want to be a role model, to me, your role model is saying, go home. You're too young to be on the streets. You're too young to talk to me. Actually, young girl, do you want to pull down your skirt a bit? Like, I think we need to get to a society at a time where we are really empowering each other, even as sisters. And I want to get to a place where we see everyone and we be like, sis, you look beautiful today. I love the way you do your makeup. Like, where did you get them earrings from? Do you know what I mean? We need to be at a point where we're encouraging, so the next generation sees that language and sees that and thinks, you know what? That's okay for me to tell another sister in a different uniform, you look really nice in your uniform. Do you know what I mean? You look really nice. And where did you get your shoes from? And I think that's how we're going to equip them to be powerful and not fearful of their own, looking at the image of themselves. Because there's so much crime or so much hatred between women that look alike.
That's true. There's definitely a lot of friction, I think, within friendships. The dynamics within the community can be bad at times. So you can have friends and you don't realize that people are in competition with you, or they're creating competitions that you don't even know exist. So, you know, I think understanding motives in relationships is very key, because not everybody has the same motive as you. Not everyone's looking for a sisterhood. Some people are just looking for a therapist to freeload on. They don't want to take your advice. They just want you to be there for a 3-hour call to offload on, and then when they're good, they're gone, and then they're back again. So I think identifying people's needs and purpose within your life needs to be key when it comes to friendships, especially.
Definitely, I will really echo that. Even in my age, I think it's so important to keep on doing that, looking at who's your inner circle and who do you need to take out your inner circle. And that's the power inside you. You have the power who you have in your life. And I think it's not a bad thing to take people out.
Yes, definitely. I be stay cutting. I be stay cutting.
Literally, period.
Right.
That's what I can say. You need to, because you grow and you elevate all the time as a powerful individual. And your destiny doesn't mean you're going to carry all the destiny helpers with you. I was speaking to someone the other day and I was saying to them, if you're on a bus, for example, and you get on at the first stop and you stay on that bus until the last stop, you'd be surprised how many people came on that bus, got off the bus, and how many people are actually at the final destination.
Right.
So everyone uses that bus for a purpose, and they get off where they need to get off. And it's as simple as that. They're not supposed to be on your journey everywhere you go. Let them get off the stop. It's okay to continue your journey. Meet different people on the way. Sometimes it's packed. Sometimes there's so much chaos going on. And sometimes, depending on the part of the season in your life, it's an empty bus, but the journey is so smooth.
Right.
And I said to her, don't be afraid
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah, don't be afraid to be alone. Don't be afraid to get rid of people who, you know, do not align with you, are not part of the purpose that you are trying to be about.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's life. You've got to know when things come to an end and when things are not working. Yeah.
That's it. And I think when you're powerful, this is something key, I think, for women to really listen to this. But when you're powerful with less friends and that guy sees that, he can then start putting doubt in your mind of who you are as a person. Because they can try to make you feel like it's because of you why you ain't got friends. Or I'm your only friend. It's only me and you against the world now. So you've got to do what I say.
Yeah.
And they break you down. There's so many narcissistic ways out there. And so much narcissistic men. And you'd be surprised who they are and what they do. I think people just put it in one box. Like, this, he does this, that's what he is. It's so wide.
Yes,
and it's like...
yeah.
Please look out for these powerful women. Look out for these signs.
Definitely. And people who do have narcissistic tendencies, you know, not diagnosing anyone, but people that do have these tendencies tend to be attracted to confident people who are self-assured. And this is the challenge that they get in trying to break down your self-esteem and make you really doubt yourself and your reality. So I think if you do feel like you are a woman, because we are talking about women here, if you do feel like you are a woman and you feel like you're strong in your purpose, you're confident, you're ambitious, you are going to attract these type of people. And I would say the way to avoid them, obviously, is to have standards, have boundaries. You need to have clear boundaries. In any previous relationship that I've had, looking back, it has been an issue with boundaries and maybe not seeing red flags or not knowing when to acknowledge them and go, which I think women need to be held accountable, and we need to hold each other accountable for that. When you see these red flags, these warning signs, you know, we need to see it as what it is, and we need to get on the train and leave.
Literally. And on that note, we're going to do a quick game before we indulge in some more questions and more things I want to ask you. So anyone that knows me knows I've always got a game, and behind the game, there's always a purpose behind it. So I will explain the purpose. So Marie doesn't know anything about the game, like none of my guests do. So I'm just going to quickly get this game ready. So this game is going to be interesting, I think. So we have a few pencils on the table, and myself and Marie has got 15 seconds to build something with these pencils. Like literally just 15 seconds. And it has to build upwards. So your building can't go out, it needs to build up. And we've got 15 seconds to do it. And I'm going to be timing both of us. We're actually going to do it together. And then I will come back with the purpose.
Starting now?
3, 2, 1. Okay. So, our little building game that we did together, and the purpose of this game is as simple as this, is that there are so many women that look just like us and are like us. You know, we might be slightly different, but they look like us. They're our sisters. You know, they're from the same community. If we spoke to them, they'll have a similar background, maybe a similar upbringing, went to similar schools, ate similar food when we was growing up. I just feel like if we lived in a community where all of us came together and built each other up, what a powerful thing that we will make with each other. Yeah. But the problem is everyone is rushing to be on top, and you cannot be on top very quickly, otherwise it will look like a mess. So even though all of these women here, pencils, but using them as women, are powerful women, because we don't want to elevate each other, because jealousy, hatred, bad mind and all these things come in between, like you see I've opened up a restaurant, instead of trying to build with me on my restaurant, you've gone to open up another one next door. I'm doing an event, I don't know, purpose talks, all of a sudden someone's doing talk purpose. You know, you're just never there encouraging your sisters to say, let's work together, because if we put all these pencils together and done an activity together now and build it together, we will be more stronger together than trying to do things individually and getting these people that have the same mindset as us. I believe that we need to start growing as a community in love and empowerment, with knowledge, with our faith, with our understanding. I think we need to have listening skills, and this is how you become a powerful woman. You don't become a powerful woman by doing everything by yourself.
Yes, definitely not. No? Yeah, we definitely need the help and support of each other. Also, I think it's key not to see other people's growth as a threat, as competition. There's room for everyone to be successful.
Literally.
So I think also in the Black community, that is sometimes an issue. It's kind of like a crab mentality, you know. We don't want someone to get to the top because we feel like we can't go as well. So we need to be open to everyone's going to have their own ideas. Some people may have similar ideas, but not to see it as a threat to, you know, whatever it is you're working on. So, you know, if one person's got a hair shop, there's loads of hair to be done, okay? There's loads of hair to be done. If one person's got a food shop, there's loads of people that's hungry. Literally. We don't need to see it as a threat, but instead be, you know, working together and supporting each other as a community and as people, just as people in general, because, yeah, it's better to come together.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you. And when I do my events, I say this to people. You look at Nando's, you look at McDonald's, and you look at KFC. Now, all three of these establishments sell chicken. They all sell chicken their own way. Yeah. They all have their tribe, right? Sometimes you fancy a McDonald's, sometimes you fancy a Nando's, sometimes you fancy a KFC. They're not in competition with each other. Their seasoning is their seasoning. Their purpose for being on that street is their purpose for being on the street. It's very, very rare that you go past a place that there's not all three establishments in the same 10 miles. You're going to see a McDonald's, you're going to see a Nando's, and you're going to see a KFC. They're not fearful of each other. They know what they bring to the table. And if you want to be a strong woman or a strong man, or you're not fearful of your woman, it's okay, like you said, for her to lead and have her seasoning in this time. And like, look how much nail shops they are. Right. They're next door to each other, some of them, and they don't mind and they're not arguing. And I find a lot of the times, and I know this podcast has talked a lot about the Black community, but that's who we are. They are very much in competition with you all the time. They will never say, do you know what, today, let me go and spend £25 in your restaurant. They'll rather go and spend it in McDonald's. They never want to see you win. And it's sad. And I think a lot of times these are men, and I know we're going back to the topic about, are men scared of fearful, powerful women? Are they fearful of us? And I think they are. I think they really, really are. It takes a specific kind of guy not to be scared. And a lot of men, in my experience, have acted like they're not. But when they really see what you do and what you're about, and that you're about that life, and you're about making that money, and you're about opening up that business, and you're about bouncing back. I always call myself the bounce back girl. So no matter what happens to me, I'm bouncing back, because there's more for me to do on earth. If I'm going to be sitting there in my sadness, poor me, my boohoo story, girl, I got to put my makeup on, my nails, my shoes. I got to go. I got to go and complete my purpose, because it's so sad, but like there's where I live, there's many gravesides, and you walk past them and they're packed with talents. And a lot of people didn't fulfill their assignments for whatever purpose. Do you know what I mean? And I don't ever want to leave Earth not leaving a legacy to say, do you know what? That girl, purpose, she did what she came to do. And she shut it down. I always say to people, ready or not, here I come. If you're ready or not for a powerful woman, here I come. You can't hold me down. I will bounce back from any situation. And I think that's something I love about myself, and being a fearless woman, and being unacceptable, unapologetic, and unstoppable. I feel like it's just a gift inside us. And I think all of us have got it. It's just for someone to stir it up inside us, to make us know, you don't need to take that nonsense from that person. Whether it's from another female, a male, from your mum, your dad, and even your children, you don't need to take any level of disrespect. If you know who you are, you grab onto that, you hold onto that, and you take back your power. Yes. And I think men want women to be powerless. Like, let's jump into some questions that I got for you. What do you think about men saying women should stay at home?
Well, where are these men, and can they afford for their woman to stay at home is the question. So for the men that are saying that, that's great. If you're going to provide the environment, you got the finance, let's be realistic. Very few men, especially in this community, can afford to have a woman and a child stay at home. Very few men can actually even afford to have a girlfriend who doesn't have a job. So that's not realistic. So I don't know where those men are. I haven't seen them. So I haven't seen them. So that's my answer.
Like the same, like I I wouldn't want a man to come into my life and talk about you're staying at home. I'll be so bored. Like my mind doesn't rest.
Yeah. Also, I don't think most people would be able to trust that. That takes a huge amount of trust, and that is a big risk, whether you're a black woman, a white woman, an Asian woman. Depending on someone solely financially is also giving them the power to starve you. So I think this is what men want to go back to, having the power to starve you if they want to. So being able to have that over your head, and that's not a safe place for women, girls, children, young boys. That's not a safe place for anyone. So no one should ever have the power to deprive you of your basic needs. You always need to be doing something as an adult. You always need to be able to do the bare minimum for yourself in order to survive. So I definitely would not agree with basically being destitute and not being able to feed myself or clothe myself or be able to take myself out or take care of myself as a woman. I wouldn't sign up for that. I wouldn't be comfortable.
No, 100%. Like myself, like I feel like, no, it's not going to work. It's just not. I don't think it's fair for the guy to ask a woman to do that either. Like, I think the only time a mum might be at home is when she becomes a mum and you've got that newborn at home and you're at home, you're nurturing it and nurturing the child, and you're breastfeeding and stuff like that. Yeah, of course you're going to stay at home for a period of time.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I mean, but it's only for a short time. Like for myself, I've already got 3 children. I've got 2 grandchildren as well. And I'm just like, I couldn't imagine myself staying at home now. Like being at home mum, doing what? I think even if I was to have another child, I most probably would open up a nursery in there or something. I would just be so bored at home. And it wouldn't because I love the child less. It's because I've got so much more to do. I'm not just going to be sitting down breastfeeding. I'm not. I'm just not that kind of woman. Right. And I think that's where women and men should have conversations about what kind of woman are you looking for.
Yeah, I think for the average couple earning average money, or the average man cannot afford to provide that type of lifestyle anyway. And I think that's why we have the 50-50 conversation, because most men need someone to actually go 50-50. You know, there's not multiple Elon Musk and Bill Gates running around out here. You know, the cost of living crisis is real for the average person. Even middle class people, both people work, both people are highly educated or qualified in middle class situations, and you need 2 people income. So for anyone underneath that, you're going to need more than 1 income. So, you know, you've just got to be realistic. Most women, unfortunately, are not going to find a man who is high earning because there's not many. So you've got to be realistic, but you've got to discuss what your needs are and how you're going to protect yourself as a woman, especially if you're going to be producing and having kids, because, you know, the more kids you have, you are going to be setting yourself up for poverty if you are already with a man who's in poverty.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it.
That's the reality.
That's the reality. And people don't want to hear them real, raw conversations. But that's the truth, because I know, like, when I was a younger girl, like 24 with 3 kids, the struggle is real. Like, let's be honest. Like, my children didn't have everything I wanted them to have, not because I didn't want to give them. The reality is I can't. Right. You've got to think, okay, nappies, wipes, clothing, this, that. You got to prioritize. Why do you want to keep on bringing life in when you got to prioritize? Excuse me. This bit edited out. Sorry,
just me watching you choke, like.
Oh God.
You okay?
Yes, that's something down my throat.
I think my throat's dry.
Oh God. Oh God.
Imagine it's not edited out.
Choking. Blessings. But yeah, I think like when you to become a mum and you want to still remain independent, you've got to be honest with yourself of who you are. Look, there's crying in my foot. Choking. But yeah, it's actually really, really serious. It's like, actually, why bring kids into the world when you can't afford them? Yeah. Why? I think you deprive them of having a full, fulfilled, fun life. Like, I remember I used to work in schools and we was talking about animals, and this little girl, I never forget, she was like, my animal's a horse. And someone said, I've never been on a horse. I don't even know where to see a horse. And then they were saying, like, I know what a horse looks like. And they're pointing to a donkey. And it was so sad because most people's animals, not saying there's something wrong with it, but it was like a little dog or a little cat or a fish. They never had the privilege of going on a horse. And I think these are the things that we need to take our community out of just being suppressed to the basics. And there's nothing wrong with your child going on a horse. There's nothing wrong with your child going on the plane. There's nothing wrong with your child going on holiday. There's nothing wrong with your child knowing the beach and not just the park. And you can't do all these things if you're going to be in a situation where you're just having child after child after child, because financially you won't be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, with the child after child, if you're not in the, if there's not two people, because it takes two people to make a child. So if there is not two people and there is not a good foundation and there is not strong morals, then it's not going to be good. So for those kids who sound privileged, like what you just described, the girl who's been on a horse, she probably comes from a 2-parent household. Her parents probably have a certain financial background.
Literally.
Obviously from history, we know the setbacks as Black people that we have. We know that, most Black people do not inherit anything when they are born. So we are at a loss from birth. So the least we could do as a community is make sure when you are getting in relationships that you want to be stable, you make sure you want to have a child with this person, make sure you're dedicated to the upbringing of your child, both of you, whether you stay together or not. I think that should be the focus, first of all, because that's the difference between our community and others. Yeah.
No, 100%. And I think, like, even growing up children, even like my granddaughter, I make her grow up so fearless. Like, she's so independent on herself at such a young age. She's only 4. And I'm telling you, there's nothing, she is so confident in who she is. She would never see another child or another young girl and be in competition or dislike her or be jealous of her, have any hatred. We've grown up in an environment where it's love. You are beautiful. Like, we have this saying, like, 4 times, you got to pick 4 things in the house. So, like, anyone that's on my WhatsApp will see I put these 4 things up sometimes. I am smart, I am blessed, I am happy, I am purposeful. And it's always that I am, and then you choose 4 things over that, because when you speak things over yourself, you become them things.
Yes, definitely.
And words are so powerful. So, like, when my granddaughter says her name, I don't mind giving her name, she will say, my name is Shariah Rose, Melanin Queen. And she will always make people know she's a queen, and she's a melanin queen at that, and nothing can take that away from her. Yeah. And I think it's so, so important, because she literally thinks that's her name. If you ask her name, she'll be like, Shariah Rose, Melanin Queen.
Right.
And it's good to empower them from now. And like you said, it doesn't matter whether you're white, Black, Asian, Chinese. Empower your women from now, your young children from now. So when they see each other, they're all so powerful that they'll be like, girl, you are so nice. I like your hair. Oh, your school shoes. There's no jealousy going on, because they know who they are as individuals. I think most women that are not powerful or not using their power is because they never heard anyone tell them about it and how they can exercise it.
Right.
Or they're looking at role models or their partners, again, where the men that are scared of powerful women will say, oh, you look too fat in that. Oh, I don't like your hairstyle. Oh, you're not coming out tonight. But their friends have brought out their girlfriends. Do you know what I mean? Or they never take a picture of their partner. All these things can make a woman start feeling insecure, and she kind of can suppress herself. Like, I know for myself, if I don't continue to remind myself who I am, you can easily mentally get caught up that you're not who you say you are.
Yeah,
I always
definitely.
say, I am who God says I am. It doesn't matter what man says. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm here for a purpose. I'm definitely going to fulfill it. And like I said, ready or not, the world better know Purpose Talks is coming. Like, ready or not, I don't care about views. I don't care about likes. I don't care how many people see it. It takes one person to understand you. And that's it. The door of opportunity has opened. And look at America, for example. So many independent women down there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, America's like, a hustle culture in itself. I've never been there, so I can't personally talk about the day-to-day, but, that's what I get from America. So can I ask, what do you think men need to do to work on their development? What do you think they should be doing to work on themselves? Because, speaking life and beauty into young girls is great. But again, development for children across the board is key. So what do you think should be done for young boys to ensure that they develop into good human beings, basically?
Really, really good question. And you know what? What I would say, honestly, I think for big men, I'll go backwards. I think they need to do a lot of counselling, a lot of therapy,
Yes,
and deal with the traumas that they had. Before going into any relations, please deal with the issues that you got, because all it does is mean you're bringing the issue into another relationship,
Right.
and it's going to be toxic. There's
Right.
nothing good's going to come out of it. I think for young boys is like if you look at primary school, maybe to secondary school, it's always creating a safe space. There's many safe spaces for young girls and girls groups, but I think creating a safe space where boys can talk about anything that's on their mind and not feel ashamed or not feel embarrassed. A lot of young boys have been molested mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, even financially. Do you know what I mean? So they need help, because if you look at a single father, he doesn't have many support networks as a single mother. So how do you then support that young boy at primary school when you're singled out as a single father? So I think for the young boys that are in school, it's like almost getting men to come in. I think we need more mentors in the school, role models of men coming in, because most young boys see their mum on a day-to-day struggle. Most. I'm not saying there's not single fathers out there, but I think so. Going back to the original question, what we can do for the young boys is literally set up groups for them to go to. Tell them that counselling and therapy is okay to have. Allow them to have a voice. If they do it through music, through football, or whatever it is that they do, but making them speak during it. They shoot a go. Have a bag with a question. Okay, this is the first question. What do you do if this happens? Do you know what I mean? Some boys don't even know if their balls drop. I know it sounds really silly, their wet dream. All of these things, like who are they having conversations with? And they're covering up like to be embarrassed. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Do you know what I mean?
So as women, the suggestions you said were great, but you know, as women, obviously we can't do that because we want the men to do that. So in an ideal world, it would be great if they take more interest in the development of the boys, whether you're with the mum or whether it's your child or it's not your child, but having more of an interest in the development of young boys. And maybe spending less time talking about women's hair weaves, makeup and eyelashes, and actually focusing on the future generation. So, you know, we can only do so much and there will still be complaints. So I think men taking charge of the development of their future representation would be great.
Yeah, I think men are the mentors.
Right.
You know, you was a boy, so you know what you went through. You was a boy, so you should know what your brain needs at that time. What brain food do you need? And I think there's such a few set of men that are role models, and it's a shame. It's actually a cry out, I think, in our society to say, and you don't just want, and I know people most really at me on this now, men that's been to prison, and so they've got that prison conversation like, oh yeah, man was in pen, now I'll come out, man's doing music, I bang, but yeah, man, remember. Right. Not all the time. Sometimes, actually, I went through school. I done the right thing. Right. I went to college. I went to sixth form. I went to university, and I know I own my own business. We want that kind of role model also. I'm not saying don't have the roadman come in and say how they changed around their lives, but I think that story's coming a bit dry.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's glamorized. So I'll say with Top Boy coming out in about 2 weeks, I just had the conversation with a friend, and I said it's a good show. But I think we've had enough of it. We've had enough of this stereotypical gang culture. We don't need any more movies or series about it because it promotes it. It glamorizes it. The youths watch it. They get hyped up and then they go outside and they want to live real life GTA. Right. And we don't need that. We need more positive things being an influence in the black community for black boys, for black girls. We don't need Top Boy. We don't need Snowfall. We don't need all of these programs.
We really don't.
So I think it's glamorized too much. Everyone wants to be a rapper. We don't need any more rappers. We don't need to hear that unless you're going to start rapping about something productive. But we don't need to see all these black hoodies and all these raps. I mean, we can do without it.
Literally, with you.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it.
Neither do I. And I'm echoing that loud and clear to the whole world. Like, listen, we're done. Right. Like I said, we want to see that story where he went to university.
Do it right the first time.
I want to see the story where his jeans was above his waist. Do you know what I mean? I want to see my black brothers, my white brothers, my Chinese and Indians dressing appropriately, speaking intelligently, and not worrying about who's shooting who, but actually who got to the top, who's got their business, who's got the right income, who tell the young boys how to get their driving license. You're telling them how you trapped. And like you said, they want to live it for real, even though it's a movie. But why? So if you know that's the influence, even to all these TV makers, if you know these things are influencing the youth and making these boys stay and remain boys, why are you not giving them nothing to become men? Doesn't make sense.
Right.
It really doesn't. And I think, Top Boy is dry. It's dead. You know, I don't encourage them movies in my household. And I'm not saying my children have ever watched them. That'd be lies to say, but it's not an encouragement. Yeah. Like I said, I don't want my child or anyone's child around me to be the next rapper unless it's positivity.
Right.
You look on, only in the 8th month, and we've had over 80 of our youth die. Out of that percentage of over them 80, 50 of them most probably thought they were rappers.
Right.
You know what I mean? 60% of them most probably thought they were some form of gang members, bang, bang. And at home, they don't even talk like that. Do you know what I mean? As soon as they go on the road, you know, I watched a clip on TikTok. You know, social media is so wide out there. And this young boy, he couldn't have been more than 12, 13, I'm going to assume. And the police was running them down for whatever reason. And when they caught him, they caught this long machete inside him, like this chop knife, whatever. And the fear on him when they took it out, knowing you've disappointed your mum, your dad, your grandma, whoever you live with. But the hype that they mostly hyped you up to say that. And then his friend, which is sad, will say, don't worry, bro, when you're in there, man's going to write to you.
Right.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not going to write to you.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. It's so sad because then your mum's got to live in that embarrassment that I didn't grow up that kind of child, you know. But I think that boys are fearful. They just don't know what to do next.
But again, with that, with these young boys, who are they working for? They're working for older men.
Of course.
It's older men recruiting them to do these things. They're not being recruited by other 12-year-olds. They're working with older men who need them to go out and do this work. So again, that's another problem, because they are working for grown men. So they are being exploited essentially. And, you know, certain people are more easier to be exploited. If your mum's busy at work for 8 hours and she's a single mum, she hasn't got time to check on what her 15, 12-year-old son is. Where's your dad? What's he doing? I think those are the conversations that need to be had instead of this continuous single mum bashing. Where's your dad?
Yeah.
So maybe hashtag where's your dad?
Yeah, literally. Hashtag it, where's your dad? Or going to be put out. That's going up on the WhatsApp tonight. No, it's true, because these are the things we need to really, really talk about. And this is where, going back to it, why we are so empowered. This is why men fear us. Because we are the women that actually, my child ain't doing that. I'm going to be around. But some women have no choice. If you're a single parent, you have no choice but to work. You want to be independent. Right. You have no choice. But it's like, you men know that about that mum. You've seen that child go to Morley's. You've groomed them from a very young age. And it's really disgusting. And then if it was your child now, you'd be the first to say something, where's that, and whatever. So when you're looking at these, and any man that watches this, when you're looking at these young boys or young girls that you're recruiting, just think that could be your daughter. That could be your son. That could be your grandchild. And if someone else was to recruit them, how would you feel about it?
Right.
You know, you have to really think.
I think that's key. But I think those type of people who do that, or type of adults, they don't have the ability to look into themselves. So I think that's asking too much from them, because they're on a total different vibration. I think it would be better if the men who are good men, because there are good men, there are good individuals, they need to be holding the bad ones accountable. And getting them out of the community and out of these spaces where we have vulnerable people. Because, you know, it's like asking a serial killer to have remorse. They don't have the capability to do so. They don't care. But we need to have people around who's going to hold them accountable, which is the judges, the this and the that, because they're never ever going to reflect the qualities of a good person, because they're just not.
No, it's very, very true. I agree with you 110% with that. And it's so important. So before we wrap this quickly up, so I'll ask you quick questions, like 2 more questions. So to your younger self, what advice would you give to a younger girl, 16, knowing that you're a powerful young individual yourself?
To my younger self, I would say to stay focused on education. Stay focused on education. Do not focus heavy on relationships. Do not feel forced to be around friends or follow the crowd. Me personally, I didn't have an issue with following friends, but I know peer pressure is real. So, do not feel pressure to conform to what others are doing is definitely a message I would send to my younger self or just younger teens in general. And also be aware of your surroundings, be aware of men. And I would say if you're 16, if you're 18, if you're 20, do not date anyone above 5 years older than you. Just don't, because the chances of them preying on you, being a predator, becomes very high. Even 5 years from a 16-year-old girl to a man, that's too much already. So, but I would say from 20, do not date anyone 5 years older than you, because chances are they've got something wrong with them and they're expecting you not to know what's going on. They're looking for control and they're just not there for the right reasons. So those are the key things I would say.
100%. No, they're very, very key things. And I think the young girls need to hear that. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, do not date too old, man.
No.
And don't worry about dating. Just live your life.
Don't worry about dating. Don't worry about dating. Yeah. Those spiritual soul ties and that, you don't want none of that. Just forget about it.
Yeah, no, seriously. You finish college or uni.
Learn yourself.
Yeah, just love yourself and go on holidays with your girls. Do you know what I mean? Just fully enjoy yourself before you get tied down. And yeah, if I was to give any advice to my teen self, it would be similar. You know what I mean? Love is free and love is something that we all need. I would definitely say to someone, and loving yourself is the best love ever.
Yes.
Self-love. And I think just self-care, self-love, self-appreciation, self-motivation, being that independent individual woman, there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely. Don't make no one take away who you are, why you're on earth. Get to know yourself on a daily basis, because every day you grow. Every day you get to like yourself. I've never really had a issue of following anyone. I'm quite a strong leader, and which I'm so proud of myself. But if I didn't self-love, I'd always be in this cocoon. Right. And actually, young ladies, you can be in a cocoon for a time. You can. But there's time to be a butterfly. It's time to spread your wings in the right way. Like I said, holidays, do you know what I mean? Saving your money, going to networking where you learn about mortgage, how to save, how to buy houses, lands and stuff like that. That should be the concentration, not men, not being in toxic relationships, not worrying about someone not liking or suppressing your personality, but being the bold, brave person that you're born to be, keep going. And you only could do that when you're around the right people.
Yes.
You know, I think people, I always say, my saying is at the moment is that I'm around, I don't know who they are, 5 billionaires, and I know I'm the 6th one. Do you know what I mean? It's just that simple. So I know whoever I'm walking or rubbing shoulders with, they've got it going on. Right. And I'm just the next one in line. So I don't walk in fear. I walk in so much faith that I know I'm going to be a billionaire. I know Purpose Talks is going to kick off. I know who I am. Like, I don't think I will be in this country in the next couple of months. I'll be abroad doing it everywhere because I believe in myself.
Yes, that's key.
Yeah, I'm my own cheerleader. I'll be out there cheerleader, listening to me to be like, girl, ready or not. You know what I mean? And that's my saying for the rest of this year, ready or not, here I come.
Right, I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, literally. But no, it's been so amazing having you on here and just speaking about the fairness.
Yeah, thank you for
having me. Yeah. Is there anywhere that anyone could shout you out or where they can reach you if they can, if you're on socials?
No,
or
I'm actually
not a social girl.
I'm on social media, but I'm not on social media. I use it, but I'm not using it for self-promotion at the moment. So not at the moment, no.
Cool. But if you do like anything that you've heard, please hit us up on the YouTube. You can send us a message. I will definitely deliver the message if it's anything personal to my guests. And yeah, we're just grateful for another episode of Purpose Talks. And as I always say, this is your girl Purpose. I'm out.